wherever you can post, especially in this era of short form video content. You can post one video across, let's see if I can get them all, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X, LinkedIn. You can do Pinterest if you want. The same exact 30 to 90 second video that's shot vertically at a 9:16 aspect ratio, that can be posted across every single platform. You don't have to do any platform specific tweaks to the actual video itself, and it can go everywhere. So why would you not diversify your platform specific risk by posting your videos in many places as possible? But I mean, to more directly answer your question, we do see that at least initially, TikTok is actually really, really good for if you make high quality content that your ideal client will actually enjoy. It will do a good job of sending your videos to the feeds of your ideal clients. And if they enjoy the content, if they have a high watch time, it will send it to a lot of people.
This is the Afternoon Advisor, where we break down how certain advisors grow so fast it looks like cheating. I'm Nate Hoskin. I'm a financial planner, a digital marketing nerd, and I spend my days building and breaking growth systems in my own businesses and in yours. I'm joined by the co-founder of Sage Content, Nick Meyer. For anyone who doesn't know, I am the other co-founder of Sage Content. But Nick, before we started working together, became the most followed CFP professional on social media with 1.8 million followers and over 330 million video views. He's worked with Fidelity, Discover, Ally Bank, TurboTax, the Golden State Warriors, just to name a few. So what we're going to be doing today is asking Nick 15 questions about video marketing. Nick, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Let's hop right into it. So I have lots of questions for you, but let's start with the simplest one. What's the best way to get started with video if I've never done it before?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully we have these little things in our pockets that contain both a video camera and a microphone. So the easiest way to get started is honestly just pull out your phone, as long as you have a recent model phone, hit record, and start educating in a way like you're talking to a client of yours. Like, solve client problems in your videos, educate on client problems. And that's a great way to start and continue on in your video creation journey.
I love it. How would I think about getting into video when I'm trying to balance it alongside everything else? Because I'm trying to do marketing. Why would I pick video over some other type of marketing?
Well, I mean, Sage, obviously.
Of course, yes. No biases here.
Yeah, without plugging Sage too much here. So, I mean, there's a bunch of different parts of the video creation process. So I'll go through each one of them real quickly here. So you have video ideation, video research, video scripting, actually recording the video, editing the video, posting the video. Obviously, that's a lot. So unless you're someone who can just pull out your phone, hit record, and feel like you can say valuable yet still compliant content all off the rip, like without a script, it's gonna take a while to make each video. Like, I don't know, how much time do you think you spend into making your videos without Sage?
I mean, hours, especially when you count the middling time where I was kind of sitting there thinking about what ideas I wanted to prioritize, and then working on each of the scripts and kind of rewriting lines, realizing that rewrite then changed all of the lines below it, and I needed to make the adjustment. So I would say in terms of focused time, it was an hour per script to really get to a point where I was ready to film it. And then I was doing everything else manually, right? I was sending that off to the video editors once I'd filmed it. I was reviewing it, giving them feedback, and then I was taking it and posting it to each different platform. So it's got to be 2 hours. I don't know. What were you experiencing when you were doing it?
Yeah, so unless I had like an idea in my head immediately of like, okay, I want to make a video about this, I knew that going into it. Like, if it was just a scheduled day where I was going to sit down, draft content, didn't have any ideas on top of my head, it would probably take me a good 20, 30 minutes to really find a couple good video ideas to nail down or to really focus on. About 30 minutes to an hour to write each script, because I want to make sure that you maximize value per second. You can't just brain dump onto a page and just call that good. Like, you actually have to engineer the script in a way that's going to work, especially on short form video platforms. They're not like podcasts like this where they see the podcast in their feed and they click it, they actively opt into watching this. They're going to give you more grace. Like, if the value per second slows down in a podcast, that's a different thing than it's slowing down in a short form video where they can just scroll and have the most entertaining content in the world at their fingertips. So you want to put a lot of work into the scripting process. Recording probably took me, it still doesn't take super long, probably 10 to 15 minutes, depending on what the video is, if I'm having trouble with a certain line or something. But then back when I was doing my own editing, that took about an hour per video, and then posting is a hidden time suck that does take probably about 30 minutes if you do it all by hand, if you're posting across every single platform.
Well, and I mean, back when we started, we didn't even really have any of the automated posting tools. And if you did, they were not cooperating well with the social media platforms. So it was a liability to try to use them. So I don't know about you, but I had an alarm that would go off and say it's time to post your video, and I would log in to every social media platform and hit post each time.
Yeah, that was before the days where even scheduled posting was a thing. I know like TikTok was late to the game with that. Instagram was late to the day with that. So it took a lot of time. It was definitely like a craft. Like just to put it in perspective, so unlike Nate, I left the financial advisory career and went straight into being a full-time content creator. So I was full-time making videos, spent 40 hours plus a week, just dedicated to making short form videos, not even long form. I mixed in a couple, but it took a very long time to create 5 high quality short form videos that I could post every single week. And that was back then before we really had the tools like Sage that helped make the process a lot easier, more time efficient.
Well, and you got so good at it. Like, it's so interesting talking to you just in the day to day, because occasionally you will just drop absolute nuggets of wisdom. And so I'm excited to catch a couple of those. I have some questions queued up because these are questions that I asked you when we started working together, because that was very much the case. I mean, we randomly discovered each other. You saw me on TV randomly on Denver 7, hit me up, cold DM'd me on TikTok, and got breakfast.
That was because of your social media presence that you landed that TV interview.
Oh yeah. I mean, they saw my TikToks and they were like, let's have this guy on the news. So it was absolutely serendipitous. But I remember when you DM'd me, I was sitting at like 200,000 followers, and I was like, you're telling me Nick Talks Money wants to hang out with me? What do you mean? So I definitely had a good period of time where I was quizzing you. So one of the main questions that I asked you at the beginning is, which social media platform do you think is the most effective for advisors? Because I use my platform to build an RIA.
Yeah, the answer is yes. So wherever you can post, especially in this era of short form video content. You can post one video across, let's see if I can get them all, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X, LinkedIn. You can do Pinterest if you want. The same exact 30 to 90 second video that's shot vertically at a 9:16 aspect ratio, that can be posted across every single platform. You don't have to do any platform specific tweaks to the actual video itself, and it can go everywhere. So why would you not diversify your platform specific risk by posting your videos in as many places as possible? But I mean, to more directly answer your question, we do see that at least initially, TikTok is actually really, really good for if you make high quality content that your ideal client will actually enjoy. It will do a good job of sending your videos to the feeds of your ideal clients. And if they enjoy the content, if they have a high watch time, it will send it to a lot of people. So, I mean, you're a perfect example of your first couple videos got a combined however many million views?
Over 1 million for the first 2 videos. They both broke 500,000, which I would consider to be anomalous in any,
definitely. Don't expect that.
Yeah. But I would say that even today, TikTok is still an unbelievably successful platform for me. And not necessarily because I think there are more people in my target demographic on TikTok than on Instagram. It's more so that TikTok has always done a better job of connecting my content with people who find it valuable.
Yeah, the algorithm is.
Yeah,
I will say that when your advisor's starting posting, if you post across every platform, you're going to notice that certain platforms, especially Instagram, especially Facebook, they take forever to get any traction. But when you get traction, it's hard to lose it. That's the thing. So it's harder to get, but harder to lose as well once you get it.
Well, and my experience has been that TikTok, like I have a full order of magnitude greater followers on TikTok than I do on Instagram. So I have about 230,000 followers on TikTok, and I have about 20,000 followers on Instagram. But I get just as many conversions for my RIA off of Instagram as I do from TikTok.
Yeah.
So it took so much longer to build that audience, but it has been a much richer audience than TikTok was. But off the rip, I mean, TikTok carried all of my business for the first 14 months, 16 months, somewhere in that range. So we talk about social media platforms, and you listed off all of the different social media platforms, but is there a specific type of content that performs best on these platforms?
Yeah, content that's actually useful and respects your viewers' time. That's a really big one. Like I talked about earlier, I briefly mentioned maximizing the value per second of each video. That's very, very important for short form video content because again, the viewers could just scroll by and get a super educational or super entertaining, or in a lot of cases, a mix of both video next in the feed. So why would they waste any time watching your video?
Yeah. Combining the entertainment and the comedy and that sort of thing with the value and the education, I think there's an art there. But when you nail it, nothing converts better.
Yeah,
it's just absolutely unbelievable.
To more directly answer your question, that's a lot of what I did. Is I made very much an edutainment style of content. So it's both educational and entertaining. And if you watch my videos on my Nick Talks Money pages, you'll see that they're almost all skit style. So I'm playing multiple different characters. I have wigs on in some videos, but like, it's kind of crazy. I make like these big gestures. I speak weirdly sometimes, but it's all in the vein of making it both educational and entertaining. Because you'll see, if you watch my videos, you'll be like, okay, yeah, he did talk about RSUs in this video, or like stock options, but he presented it in a way that's a lot more digestible for the average audience, which I'm not saying all financial advisors do because, or should do, because my personal business model with social media was I wanted to maximize my reach with as many people as possible because I got paid by advertisers. I was getting paid by Fidelity, by Discover Bank, all these different big financial institutions to help them get their next generation of customers. So I wasn't as dialed into a specific niche as like you would be. You were just speaking to Henry's, like, because that's who you serve in your financial advisory practice. Whereas I just wanted to make content that was as broadly applicable and enjoyable as possible. So I'm not necessarily saying that all financial advisors should do skit style content. If you notice that you're not getting as many views as you want and you just need that like top of funnel boost to get more people in your funnel and then you can narrow it from there, they're good to mix in. But most of the advisors that we work with, most of the advisors on Sage, they are basically just doing talking head style content where they're just looking straight at the camera, explaining a personal story they have, explaining an educational concept, and that works great for them.
Yeah, and I would say that the skit style for me always worked at getting that broad reach. You're talking 30, 40,000 followers in 48 hours, but those people did not convert and become necessarily members of my firm.
100%,
right?
yeah.
And so there was definitely a middle ground there. And I would say, I mean, you talk about broad appeal, but you did still drive, 22,000 people to your mailing list? More? 26?
Yeah, I even forget at this point, but yeah, at least 25,000, I think. And that was mainly off of 1 or 2 lead magnets.
So even if you would expect people to just kind of laugh and scroll at that content, what you discovered was that they actually had pretty high intent. They wanted to get more value from you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a mix because there was definitely some times where like I tried to sell educational products or different things like that. And I realized that people didn't really know who I was. So the level of trust wasn't quite there just because I was always just playing characters in my videos. Like obviously they still did fine, but they didn't do as well as you would have thought for someone with almost 2 million followers, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, the direct trust with you might not have been as strong as if you had done more of the talking head.
Exactly.
I mean, so many people I talk to will mention that they saw your Mountains and Money series. That I could see that being the type of thing where if you had continued to do a type of content in that vein, you could have built more trust as an individual and less so as a brand.
Exactly. And the reason I didn't is because for those of you who don't know, I made this series called Mountains and Money where I like to hike. I walked out on these hikes and I just held my phone in front of me and did like mostly listicle style content, well in an interesting zone. So I was like, okay, cool. Look at this guy's personality. He likes being outside. He likes hiking. He likes talking about money. That's cool. I want to follow him. And I think the first 2 videos I posted of that got me like 100,000 new followers on Instagram or something like that. But then I posted like 15 more and none of them hit the same way. So I don't know what it was, but for whatever reason, again, my business model was to maximize reach. Those stopped getting reach, so I stopped making them.
Right.
But if I was in the business of building trust, like if that was all I wanted to do because I was an advisor selling advisory services, which are obviously very trust-based, yeah, I would have kept doing them. That basically would be the only thing that I would have done because that was a great way of getting bursts of attention, not consistent, but bursts of attention while still building trust with the audience because it's me speaking directly to the camera as myself.
Yeah, and building a more personal connection. So you talk about doing this as a full-time job because you quite literally did make it your 40-hour work week. For someone who doesn't have a 40-hour work week to dedicate to content, how often should they be posting to see results?
Yeah, I mean, how I always answer this question is it's better to be consistent than to have a spurt of high volume and then a long dead period where you're not posting anything because you got burned out. So I would say minimum, try to post. If you're doing short form content, it's going to be different than long form content. But if you're doing short form videos, again, they're 30 to 90 seconds long. They're not big undertakings in the grand scheme of content creation. I would say try to do at least 2 a week, because that will give you plenty of feedback. It'll give you plenty of chances to iterate and improve upon your content and give you just more at-bats with the algorithm than just posting once a week or once every 2 weeks, where you're more likely to actually show up in your ideal client's feeds and build that repetition up where they might see you once or twice every single week. You start to become a known face. They'll follow you. And if they ever decide like, hey, this is the time where I want to reach out and get help with my finances, they're going to think about you. If you only post once every couple weeks, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And I like that cadence, because then you could start to imagine that if you put 8 videos on your plate in a given month, that you could sit down and ideate and script those in an afternoon, film the following morning, give those to your editors or take care of editing however you do. But it wouldn't become this thing that takes over every second of every waking hour.
Exactly.
Okay. I like that. So if we're posting 2 a week at a minimum, and we maybe get up to 5, 10? How many? What's the maximum that someone would feasibly post?
Yeah, I never really went over 5. I think 1 per weekday worked out really well for me. It's not like posting on the weekends is bad or anything. I always noticed that posting on Saturdays was kind of down just because people are usually out doing stuff. But posting on Sundays has worked well for me. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily try to shoot for more than 5 a week.
I found that whenever I would get into a cadence where I would do 7 videos a week, it lasted for a couple months.
Yeah, that's not sustainable. That's a lot, even for us.
I would just burn out. And that was when I had all the time in the world and no clients, and I still got exhausted doing that. So you talked about edutainment as the most optimal type of content. So how did you balance creating educational content versus more personal storytelling or vlogging style content? Because I know, how would you recommend an advisor approach doing that?
Yeah, so the way I did it would not be how I'd recommend advisors do it. Because again, my goal was to just maximize my reach. In order to maximize that reach, edutainment is what did that for me, at least in the style of content that was really popular back in the heyday of my content creation, at least for brand deals wise, when I was trying to go out there and fish for brand deals. Advisors, your personal stories are your differentiator. So no one's gonna be able to make the same content as you if you talk about your personal stories. Obviously, the amount of stories that you're able to share or that you actually have that are unique going to be fairly limited. Like, you're not just going to have hundreds of those that you can share just on a whim. So mix it as many as you can, but just understand that the education/entertainment style content will be the bulk of what you end up uploading.
Yeah, and I could see there being a bit of an overlap where you could do an educational style video, but start to frame that education from the perspective of a personal story or an experience, right?
Yeah, exactly. Do as much of that as you can, but understand that it's okay if you just be like, okay, here's what a backdoor Roth is, and here's my opinion on it. Yeah.
We've definitely seen that advisors have started adopting video en masse. We started this 3 years ago, and back then we were mostly educating and trying to convince a couple of advisors that video might be worth their time. And now we see adoption just going through the roof. So how should an advisor approach content in a way that differentiates them from the other advisors who are taking your advice?
Yeah, a big part of that's what we just said, and share your personal stories. Like, that's going to be your main differentiator. Other ways you can differentiate yourself is honestly like production quality. If you make videos that like look like ours, that's a nice way to stand out and just give yourself a little bit more credibility, because everyone that's watching it's be like, oh, this guy or gal put a lot of effort into making sure they look good and sound good on camera. They're a little bit more trustworthy than someone that might not have. But also like just filming on your phone, that's also a way to like appear as like raw and authentic. So you really just want to avoid that messy middle where it looks like you're putting in effort, but it doesn't look like a really high quality end product.
Yeah, failed effort.
Exactly.
Where, like, you can tell the camera's great, but the settings are wrong or the lighting is incorrect, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so like, you can stand out with production quality. You can stand out by making videos that would only be authentic for you to make, like my Mountains of Money series is a really good example of that, of recording content on a hike. I've also recorded content while skiing. So I did that 1 or 2 different ways. Both recorded with a GoPro, so I'm not actually holding a phone skiing. Do not recommend holding a phone while skiing and trying to film. You might end up hugging a tree, which would not be good for anyone. But Yeah, I either just record it while actually talking on the slopes. Didn't like that as much as just recording the actual like footage, not speaking over it until I get back into my studio and just do a voiceover afterwards. And that was really easy. And those were some of my more viral LinkedIn posts when we started making content for N2, was doing some skiing videos, because it's something that no one had ever seen before done in our space.
Yeah. Well, and because of content like that, you've had an Icon pass for free for years because Icon sponsors your content.
That does help.
That does help you do skiing content. I will say that much. So if you're making a skiing video, you're making a walking, talking video, you're making an educational video, what's the ideal video length for these platforms?
Yeah, if you're doing short form video content, which is the main video style content outside of YouTube, where YouTube long forms are kind of still king there, between 30 and 90 seconds is pretty standard. Like, you could go longer than that. We always tell advisors when they're just starting off, lean towards the shorter end of that, because it forces you to get really good at condensing your value into the highest value per second, as I'm going to say again, because a lot of advisors, they're going to think about the topic they want to talk about and be like, okay, I have 10 minutes of material that I can talk about this, but it's supposed to be a short form video. So you want to be really, really clear about trimming all of the unnecessary things. Don't go off on any related tangents. When you're talking about 401ks, don't dig into like, okay, your investment options could be index funds. Here's what an index fund is. Don't do that. Explain one topic per video. Keep it short, keep it snappy. When you feel like you're getting good at that, you can start to expand it to 60 seconds, 90 seconds. If you want to get up to 3 minutes, you can, but make sure it's a packed value per second. And if you're storytelling, that could be something different, because stories could take longer to develop. But if it is a really good story, people would be more likely to stick around and actually watch it.
Yeah, absolutely agree. So you also mentioned professional equipment, and that one of the potential differentiators you could use is having high production quality. So walk us through kind of how an advisor would upgrade their studio in a meaningful way.
Oh boy, I mean, you'd be able to speak on this just as much as I can, but there's 3 really elements of production quality that you need to pay attention to as far as like equipment you can buy: audio, video, lighting. I would actually rank audio first, because if your video has high video quality, low audio quality, no one's going to want to watch it unless they're watching on mute. Then it won't matter. But in general, if you have really, really crackly audio, or it's just like it's hard to understand, it's a lot of wind noise or something, people just aren't going to give you the time of day to watch your content. But that's really what production quality is all about. So when we're talking about this, just realize you don't have to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars to upgrade your production setup, but it should never be a reason that someone scrolls by your video. You don't want your lighting to be bad. You don't want your video quality to be super grainy. You don't want your audio quality to be bad. You want them to all be great, like not great, but like good enough where no one really understands, or no one realizes like, oh, that's not good, if you know what I'm saying. Absolutely.
And I would say that there is this mistake that advisors make where they assume that buying better equipment will make their videos better. And then you get a really nice shotgun microphone and you didn't quite realize how sensitive that microphone is. And you play it back and you go, wait, how is this so much worse than what was coming off of like a little lav mic or something that was plugged into my phone? So I'm with you that having external microphone, having external lighting is a no-brainer. It adds so much quality to your video overall. But using the iPhone as your centerpiece for that kit seems to be the best working equation until you're ready to kind of accept the learning curve of getting really good at running a DSLR camera or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the recommendations I've been giving out recently have been the Video Mic Me L or Me C, because it's just a shotgun microphone that plugs into the bottom of your phone.
Yep.
So simple. And then one of the ones that our videographer Grant actually discovered was the Omron Verge Max, because it's a nice flat edge-lit panel for your lighting. So if you're space confined, like if you are in a small office or something like that, you can't have these massive 4-foot lights that we have in the studio right now that are just taking up a massive amount of space. So I mean, as a starting point to get the Verge Max, which I think is like $250. Grant, is it somewhere in that range? Yeah, it's like $250. And then that Video Mic Me L is what, $70-$80?
Yeah, not bad at all.
It's a fantastic start to start getting amazing quality.
Yeah, and as long as you have a recent model phone, you're gonna look great.
Oh man, the iPhone 17s have been cooking on quality. It's just absolutely ridiculous. All right, so the next question I have for you is, how do I repurpose my video content for different platforms? You touched on this a little bit.
Yeah, well, long story short, you don't really have to. Assuming it's a short form video, you don't mention like a specific platform name in there. Like, hey, LinkedIn, give me a follow, which you shouldn't do. That's best practice to not do that. But as long as it's a short form video, you don't really need to do anything different for other platforms other than adjusting the descriptions, because descriptions, they have different best practices or length confinements per each platform, which if you use Sage, it automatically does that for you. But it's pretty easy to see once you actually go into post every single video on each platform, like what's allowed, what's not, etc.
So one video gets posted to every platform. Just change the descriptions. Don't worry about changing the video.
Yeah, and one thing I would say is that we get approached all the time about, hey, can you clip my podcast down into short form videos? Which it's going to be kind of, I'm talking on both sides of my mouth here because we're about to do this.
Let's turn this into a clip. Great.
Yeah,
clip
exactly.
This.
We're about to do this, but it's not usually something we recommend for advisors specifically, because advisors, they're not professional content creators most of the time. Like, they're doing a podcast because they want to speak in depth about a certain topic. But 9 times out of 10, if you simply wrote a dedicated short form video script for that topic instead of pulling what you said from a podcast, it's going to perform so much better. And that can be the difference between getting 100 views on a video or getting 100,000 views on a video. It's just slight little tweaks to the value per second, condense it down like a short form video audience would expect. And it's going to way outperform something that is kind of like said offhand on a podcast.
Well, and I think the obvious element there too is production quality. I mean, if you're going to take the time to sit down in a studio and record that podcast, it opens itself up better to clipping and turning it into short form content. But if it's on a Zoom call or if it's in Riverside, and you're going to have kind of those stacked frames, and you can't guarantee the camera quality of the person on the other side of that podcast, you're going to end up with a very challenging video situation that's just not going to translate that well into short form video. That, as you mentioned, it just has that competitive element where there is the best content available to them at any given time.
Yeah, this is anecdotal, but I'm interested to hear if it's the same for you. Whenever I see a video pop up that has like the Zoom boxes or the Riverside boxes, instant scroll. I never watch it.
I quite literally, there is no way you could hook me hard enough to get me to watch that, because of everything you mentioned on the production quality.
Yeah.
I don't need amazing production quality to like a video.
Yeah.
But it needs to be at this baseline where like one person in that tile isn't cut off by the tag and the descriptions and the interaction buttons to the point where I can't even see them when they're talking.
Exactly. And it feels like you're sort of disrespecting the audience in a way, because you're not making something that looks native to the short form video platforms. You're like, hey, I'm just going to put together this shoddy Zoom recording. I'm going to be all grainy. I'm going to be recording in AirPods, which is the worst possible audio that you could record it. It sounds terrible. And I'm going to start my video by going like, the 401k. It's just, people aren't going to want to watch that. They respect your viewers' time. That's the biggest piece of advice I give anyone watching this that wants to make short form videos. Respect their time and respect that there's a certain way that they want videos to appear in their feed. Otherwise, they're going to dismiss them immediately.
And you're not going to outsmart that. No. It's already been spoken for. It is going to happen in a certain way. Well, everyone, at least that I would expect to be listening to this podcast, is thinking about doing video for the sake of marketing and building their firm, often building an advisory practice or a financial services practice of some sort. So how would you approach measuring or thinking about ROI from your videos?
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, you can get into the actual nitty gritty and say like, hey, how much money am I investing into this? And what's my cost per booked call? What's my close rate? Like, what's the money I'm actually making from this? And thankfully for financial advisory, as you know, it's usually a long-term relationship when you sign a client. It's like, okay, I'm not just getting revenue for this year, I'm getting revenue for an indefinite period of time until they decide to cancel. And I mean, depending on how long your firm's been around, you can say like, okay, the average client stays for 20 years or whatever it would be. So you can basically calculate lifetime ROI that way. And when you look at it like that, like if you close a client every month or two from a short form video with the low amount of money you have to put into it, that's phenomenal. That's awesome. But just in a broader sense, like, just getting your brand out there, getting brand recognition, getting potentially hundreds of thousands of eyeballs on your content every single month is going to do so much for your brand long term, where even if you don't get that immediate hit of like dopamine of like, oh, I got all these calls scheduled immediately upon posting my first couple videos, it will lead to good things down the line as long as your mission stays true of like every single video I post is going to respect the viewer, going to respect their time, and it's going to be made to solve a problem that my ideal client faces. You will find the right audience eventually. And I mean, you're kind of an outlier where your first couple of videos got over 1 million views. But we've spoken to Kevin Lum before, one of the biggest advisors on YouTube, and he didn't really see any results his first full year on YouTube. And he's only been on YouTube for like 3 years at this point. So his first full year, didn't really see any results. Next year is like, okay, I understand what formats are working. I'm going to kind of like lean more into those and really find my groove. Third year, closes $100 million in new AUM from YouTube. And that's the sort of like exponential curve that you should not like expect, but you shouldn't expect to get high results right away, even though some people we've worked with have, just because they have such an engaged client base that shares and like refers their videos out to other people. But we can keep going.
It's kind of a long game.
Yeah, it's a long game.
To say I'm going to produce this content, it might look like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, but that's because there is this weeding period where most of the advisors who produce content are going to stop after 3 months, after 6 months. And it's going to be the ones that persevere into that second and third year that actually start to see these standout results. And by the time you get there, I mean, it's a blue ocean because there are so few advisors who have reached that echelon of success.
Yeah. I mean, this is a podcasting stat, and I don't know the exact number, but it's going to be in the right ballpark. There's like something like 1 million podcasts out there that have 1 episode, but there's like 10,000 that have more than 10 episodes or something like that. And the same thing is true with content. People get into it. They're super excited right away, make a couple videos. They don't sign a client immediately. They're like, what is this? I don't get instant ROI. It's like, you don't really get instant ROI with anything, but some people do. And there's a potential that every single video you post could go viral, could get in front of thousands of potential people who fit your ideal client profile. And the longer you do this, the more chances you are to like, it's basically like hitting hitting a slot machine in a casino, basically, is how these short form video platforms are making you treat their platforms. You keep spinning the wheel. It's like, oh shoot, this video went off. It got me the business results I was looking for. That could be your first video. That could be your 50th video. It's not, you don't really have much control over when that happens, other than to make the best videos you can, post more frequently, and respect your audience.
Well, and that's the nice thing about discrete percentages is that you can then reverse engineer how many videos you have to post in a given period to get one of them to do that.
Yeah, because
that was always my experience.
Yeah, you know exactly, like if you post a video, you get a client. Right. Basically, you're getting a call.
And the way that works is much like the returns of the stock market. Like I've, over the last 3 years, for every video I've posted, I've gotten a client. Or I've gotten a client call, I should clarify. And so if I'm going to get a meeting per video, well, those aren't going to be evenly distributed. But if I post 5 videos every single week, then at some point, 2 or 3 of those are going to do 10 or 50x better than my baseline. And those might contribute half of the total calls. But much like a 30% year in the S&P 500, well, then I can have a couple down years. I can have a couple of bad videos as long as it all evens out to having a client meeting per video. And I have yet to find something that can give me that return for my business that I have full autonomy over. Because one of the questions I have for you is, what's your take on running paid ads to promote your videos?
Yeah, so there's 2 different ways you can go about this. One is wrong. One is right. And I know you know which way I'm going with this. But if you are purely running ads on your videos because they're not getting enough views, and you're like, okay, let's pump these view numbers up so they look respectable, or so like maybe it'll get more of the right eyeballs on my page, that's a really bad idea, because the platforms don't outwardly say this, but it's something that we have both noticed, where if you put money behind your videos for this, just the sake of boosting them, your next organic video is going to do not quite as well as your last one. And it'll keep going downhill because that platform knows that you're willing to put money behind your videos in order to boost them. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. What we do instead recommend is you can pick whatever number you want, but every 5, 10, 20 videos, look to see which 2 or 3 did the best, and look at them and be like, okay, would this work in a paid ad? If I was to put this in like Meta ads, LinkedIn ads, X ads, etc., would this attract the attention of my ideal client, solve a problem for them, and give them a nice way to follow up with me to like continue the conversation? If the answer to that's yes, it's already proven to have done well organically. Our best ads are our best organic videos that have been turned into ads. So I would put a couple of those into Meta ads or your ad platform of choice every month. But there's a difference between doing that and then going straight into your social media feed and hitting boost this post.
I have another statistic for you that I think you'll like, which is that the average return on ad spend on Meta is 0.67.
I believe it.
So for every dollar you put in, you get 67 cents back. And it's like, I don't know if that's necessarily going to work, but what we've found, I mean, we got what? I calculated this last year, actually. It was 26.04x return on ad spend for Sage content and for our company.
Yeah.
The whole way that we did that was we just posted a whole bunch of organic content. And then we picked those top, we had 20 winners in our All-Stars?
Something like that, yeah.
And we just took the MP4 files, so not boosting them on social media, but take the MP4 files and put those into Meta Ads Manager, and then just let Meta allocate your budget among those winning videos.
Yep.
And I mean, that's been our entire ultra complicated ad strategy for the last 2 years.
Yeah, and I will say that, to look behind our curtain, we tried, so we saw that 26x our ROAS, return on ad spend, and we're like, oh, cool, let's spend $1,000 a day or a month on this. Yep. That didn't work. It did not scale for us. So make sure you experiment with your daily budgets, but understand that there is a point where if your ideal audience, which ours is pretty small, if your ideal audience is pretty small, pretty niche, there's a point where more ad spend doesn't equal actually more results. You just want to keep cycling out that creative to keep it fresh so you can get more new videos in front of the same people that have already been seeing your paid videos that will be more likely to actually give you a chance to follow up with you and schedule a call, download a lead magnet, whatever you want them to do.
And that's how I think we could do ads better, is just have a better pipeline with those organic videos. Just do better tracking on our organic videos and keep adding those to the All-Stars, because that is a great way, at least from what we've seen, to get those, I don't necessarily want to say those quick wins, but when you're talking about ROI and wanting to get a client meeting this week, paid ads are quite effective at that, as long as you have good creative for it. So kind of blending the organic content with a paid ad campaign creates a sweet spot where you have consistent revenue, you have more reliable stuff that you can build a business on, and then you have those massive outliers that organic content can create.
Exactly. And I would say financial advisors, there's a pretty blue ocean out there still for in terms of high quality creative for paid ads. Those are foreign words for 99% of financial advisors. They have no idea how to make high quality creative for video ads, specifically on Meta, on LinkedIn, et cetera. So if you just have a video that looks like it would be natural in a short form video feed, you're ahead of almost every single other advisor.
Absolutely. Well, those were all of my questions. Thanks for coming out, Nick.
Of course, man. Thanks. It's fun being interviewed by you instead of being interviewed with you.
I know. Usually we're on the same side of the table.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, man.